It was once assumed that ADHD was just a boy's thing. That's likely because hyperactive boys are hard to miss. But girls and women can have it too. They're just sometimes harder to spot.
By and large, girls tend to have a subtler presentation of ADHD, so not necessarily the daydreamer, but difficulties with focus or attention or distractibility.
Dr. Laura Gerber is a pediatrician and ADHD specialist.
I might be looking at you. You may think I'm listening to you, but you might not realize that I'm totally focused on the buzz of the fluorescent light.
There's a large population of girls who may have the inattentive type of ADHD, and they're often the young ones that are at the back of a classroom. They're not bothering anybody, but they're tuning out. They're not learning optimally.
You know, when they talk about an iceberg and they say the largest part of the iceberg is the part below the waterline, that's attention deficit disorder. Vast majority of ADD people are not hyperactive. And in that majority underneath the waterline, most of those are women.
For years, ADHD research focused mainly on males. The pool of research on females is slowly increasing. We now know that while boys tend to show symptoms by age 5, girls may not until age 12, and flying under the radar can have consequences later in life.
Classic case of attention deficit disorder is the 19-year-old female university student. They go off to university and everything starts to fall apart. It doesn't fall apart because they're partying too hard or they're not mature enough or, you know, they didn't take their circumstances seriously. It's because for the first time in their life, the sort of external exoskeleton of their life wasn't there, and then things didn't go well, and then they were left with this feeling of, I'm not as good as everybody else, I'm not as smart as everybody else. And that young lady shows up at the university health service, and the psychiatrist will say something like, well, so tell me what brings you here, and the young lady says, well, I'm not doing very well. And the psychiatrist says, well, how do you feel about that? And the young lady says, well, not too good. And the psychiatrist then says, well, how long have you been depressed for? And in the first 45 seconds of the interaction, the psychiatrist has moved the young lady from what she's come for. I'm not doing very well. That's a function comment. And the psychiatrist has slid the young lady right into the psychiatrist's comfort zone. Depression and anxiety, anxiety and depression.
It's kind of stunning to me that a lot of people that I dealt with, different counselors and therapists, didn't notice this about me. It wasn't my psychiatrist's first instinct at all.
For Medina Abdelkader, it was the pressures of grad school that revealed her ADHD.
When I came to Toronto to do my master's, I was living by myself, so I didn't have that social support. And I had a really hard time staying organized. And I would go every single day, and I would sit and I'd bring all my books and my laptop and my highlighters and my good intentions. And I would just sit for hours and hours reading, going sort of down the black hole of the internet and all these really juicy topics that I was studying. I just couldn't stay focused, and I have all these ideas and I just can't sit down for long enough to get them down. It wasn't like, oh, maybe I have ADHD. It was, I'm so anxious, I'm gonna die, so I need to do something about this.
Many successful people who are university graduates, they have professional careers, all of a sudden will hit a wall, a level of impairment that results in their running into difficulties.
Susan Gottlieb's ADHD managed to fly under the radar until her early 40s, thanks in part to her first marriage.
There was a lot of structure in my life for those 20 years or so. But when that was over, and things changed very dramatically, and children came into my life, and there was no structure, there was no plan. It worked, and then it didn't work. I felt, from a functional standpoint, that I couldn't do the kinds of things that I was always used to doing through just drive and willpower and intelligence. Okay, listen, I won't keep you, but I just wanted to talk to you. I think we should be buying something here.
Susan works for the investment arm of a big bank. She's a high achiever and good at her job. But ADHD can stay hidden until you reach a tipping point.
And certainly being on an antidepressant, for example, which is what one doctor recommended, that maybe soothed my stress, but didn't help me function better. And that's really what I needed to do.
The medication is treating their mood or their anxiety, which is only a secondary symptom of the root of the problem being ADHD.